welcome, welcome. We are back for part two. You thought we were leaving, but we're here. We're still here. We're going. We
We're still here.
decided,
We still got it.
yeah, we decided to do a second movie in honor of July 4th. The first one was Independence Day. So if you finished that first and then jumped over here, welcome. The next one is Jaws.
Yes. Isn't it celebrating some monumental anniversary this year? Is it 50 years this year?
Yeah, I believe it's 50 years. I think that it's in theaters too, which is pretty cool.
Amazing.
I would see it in theaters.
Oh, me
I
too.
don't know if they have
Absolutely.
it by us, but yeah. I think it's select showings, but the popcorn bucket was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Back on the specialty bucket grind.
Yeah, it's like a whole shark's head and shit.
I love that. This movie is certainly iconic enough that I think it would be worth going for a special viewing in theaters, especially because when it came out, we would not have been seeing it in movie
Uh,
theaters, obviously.
we weren't even a sperm or an egg at that point.
We weren't even a thought in anybody's mind at that point. But it's funny. I've always loved Jaws, and I don't love it and associate it with the 4th of July, but
I don't either. Yeah.
you can't think about this movie without thinking about the 4th of July because that's the whole timeline of the movie is 4th of July weekend. So it certainly belongs in the bracket of 4th of July themed movies, I guess, because there's not a lot of them. Really,
No.
what you get is ones that take place in, on, or around the 4th of July. But Independence Day is the only one I could think of that when you think about it, you're
Right.
like, oh, yeah, the 4th of July movie.
Yeah. The only other one is that I can think of is Sandlot. Um,
Oh, Sandlot
that
too.
also
Yeah,
falls
for
under it.
sure.
We didn't watch that one, so sorry.
No,
I also didn't know that this was a book prior, and the book came out a little over a year before the movie came out. So, quick
right.
turnaround time.
Yeah, that is insanely quick. Well, they also credit Jaws with kind of revolutionizing and introducing the summer blockbuster
Mhm.
into the zeitgeist of the film industry, which is crazy to think about because when you think about the type of movie Jaws is,
Mhm.
I would not immediately associate that with a big summer blockbuster type movie. Whereas we said Independence Day, that's
Yeah.
exactly how we would define it. So it's very interesting, but it also makes sense. These movies are themed around summer events to be summer releases for these big summer blockbuster type events and screenings. So very interesting.
This definitely added a fear of sharks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But, just another fun fact about the author who wrote the book is actually in the movie for a cameo. He is the newscaster, that it's, like, on the beach talking about, like, somebody dying on the beach and,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
wild.
So, just a little tidbit here.
That's
So
super cool.
let's jump into it. Jaws, Rotten Tomatoes, 97%.
Holy.
Wow. Popcorn, 90%. Metacritic 87, user score 8.7, and IMDb is 8.1 out of 10. So, pretty good across the board, I'd say.
By far and away the best movie we have reviewed thus far. And
Yes.
it stands the test of time for
Mhm.
sure because people still look at this movie they hold it in very high regard. It's not like that love or appreciation for the filmmaking, the practical effects, the soundtrack, all of it has faded with time. I don't know anybody that feels differently about it today than they did
Mhm.
the first time they saw it, however long ago that was. So,
Yeah, I think
definitely a
go ahead.
standout. No, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think what helps it is the practical effects, like you said,
Yes.
because the movies, like, in the early 2000s that have so much CGI, those really, like, are cringy to look at now.
Yeah.
You know, Even after all this time, and I had watched it yesterday on Peacock, and on Peacock, it's the 4D or 4K Super HD, whatever the fuck else.
Right.
So it looked pretty crisp.
I will always have a very big appreciation for practical effects in film because it's so true what you say. I feel those are the ones that on rewatch today versus, the 70s, 80s, 90s, whenever, those are the ones that still hold up in a very different way than those that heavily rely on computerized, digitalized, or CGI effects within
Mm.
the movie. And I feel in horror type movies, because this is also a fun fact. Several lists of best horror movies of all time that I've looked at, this ranks number one
Wow.
across the entire genre. Um, but especially in horror, there's something truly chilling when it looks like what you're watching could be real. And I think sometimes over reliance on CGI in horror specifically takes the terror out of it for me because it
Fake.
looks fake and silly in a lot of instances. But Jaws does not. It looks, like you said, it looks incredible still to this day.
And which I found out this later. So the shark actually only appears on screen for 4 minutes. There are scenes where you can see a shark swimming in the water that is cut from Australian footage.
Oh, that's so
Um,
funny.
but yeah, the actual shark is only on screen for 4 minutes, and that wasn't initially on purpose. It was just they were having so many issues with the sharks, and all of them were having like malfunctions and breaking
Oh
down.
God.
And I think that kind of led to John Williams bringing in the music, and that helped enhance, because if you can't show the shark, build up the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the hype, the
Tension,
like tension.
suspense.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
suspense. And the shark that they used most was named Bruce after Spielberg's lawyer.
that's funny.
It did win 3 Oscars for best film editing, original score, and sound. It lost best picture to One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Cuckoo's Nest. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Best sound and best score make a
a whole
whole
lot of
hell of
sense.
a lot of sense for this movie. John Williams is one of the greatest of all time as it
Legend.
relates to film composition and scoring. He is in a class of his own.
Mm,
Um, but you brought up something very interesting that I think bears some conversation as it relates to sound and creating those feelings of tension or suspense or even emotion.
yeah,
And I think I'm thinking again horror specifically in the 70s, but I feel like this decade of movie is when you started to see a lot more creativity, definition, and more iconic and memorable sounds or songs or things to associate with different movies or different characters. And Jaws is a perfect example of that. When
mhm,
you hear a da 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 da, like the first thing you think of is holy shit, there's a shark coming.
right,
Um,
right.
at least for me, I don't think of anything else. If I hear anything that even remotely sounds like that, it's Jaws, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
even
You
if you
know?
haven't seen the movie, I feel like most people know that sound.
Yeah, because it's
Of the
been used in other properties or has been, I'll say, replicated or not. I don't want to say it's used note for note because it probably isn't, but emulated almost in
yeah,
other. Usually it's oceanic endeavors, I'll say, and it's usually
right.
associated with the sea or a shark or something like that.
Some kind of shark
But
documentary.
yeah, yeah, but most people nowadays hear that and they're automatically going to know what would be in front of them if they were looking at a TV screen, you know?
Yeah. I actually like that more. I like when I don't see, especially for horror movies, like, I don't see the character as much. Insidious is
Yeah.
the one that always comes to mind to me where I loved it in the beginning because you really didn't see the demon, and then I hated that they showed it more in the end. Because to me, it just increases the suspense of, like, not really being able to, like, put a face to the horror.
You know what movie did that for me? The Ring.
Mm,
The Ring spends so much time on imagery and snippets of things, and you really don't see the big bad
mhm,
until the very end. It's like the last 10 minutes of the movie, maybe 5
right.
minutes of the movie. But throughout the entire film, the 90, 100-minute runtime, whatever it is, you are so tense and you are unsettled and you are uncomfortable. And I was genuinely terrified when I first saw that movie. And again, it's a testament to how, different sounds and quick cuts and visuals can do a lot of heavy lifting in building suspense and building tension without, giving away the farm from the onset of the movie or whatever it is that you're watching by showing you instead of telling you almost or making you use your imagination a little bit to conjure up something that's
Mhm,
probably going to be scarier than what you're ultimately going to see at the end.
right. Right. Uh, Hooper, the scene where he's, like, underwater and he finds the tooth and then, like, the head pops up, that
Yes.
still
Yep.
always gets me. And it's like, I
Yep.
remember this part, I've seen this movie a bunch, like, but it doesn't matter, it always gets me.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, I do have a confession
Tell
that,
me.
and I got a lot of shit for not seeing She's All That prior, but I actually did not see Jaws until about 5 years ago.
I mean,
So
no judgment here.
so
There are plenty of classic movies that I know I would love or that have been recommended either by friends or family, or they're just very highly regarded movies that I still haven't seen. They're on my list. Who knows
right.
when that list will be completed?
I think that's the
You
best
know,
part of the podcast is we can go down these
yes,
rabbit
yes,
holes.
yes. We are we are expanding our library of movies and things that we've seen or maybe we've wanted to see for a long time and haven't until now. And that's been really fun. I agree.
Yeah, I think the next one, which not to be a spoiler, but I think the Blair Witch Project is, like, definitely the one I'm most excited about in the future, when we do our Halloween, inevitably, our
Spooky
Halloween
season
spooky
spoilers.
season. So, yes, I have not seen that one either, so
I always
I'll
forget you haven't seen it because it's one of my favorites
Mhm.
ever made. But we'll save that. We're not
Yeah.
going to get into that now.
Yeah. Also, so the last thing I had on the fun facts of Jaws was the opening scene where the girl gets pulled down. So apparently, she did have the underwater cables on, but Spielberg did not tell her that she was going to be yanked up and down. So
Oh
the
my
screams
God.
are actually authentic screams because she had no idea that was going to
You
happen.
know, directors put their actors through some crazy stuff to get
Right.
those authentic, jump scares or screams or cries even. I have read some stuff over
Hmm.
the years about particularly scary or emotional scenes where they're like, yeah, I had no idea that was going to happen. What you saw on screen was my genuine authentic reaction to what
Hmm.
was going on. So, I mean, I get it. I
So do
think
I. Yeah.
an authentic from the heart in the moment reaction is always going to be much more compelling, much more believable than one that you've rehearsed in the mirror 70 times.
Right.
But it's also a little bit traumatic, would imagine, for the person going through it.
Right.
So maybe there's got to be a better balance there, because that's wild.
Yeah, it's intense. But what I love about the opening scene is it sets the table for
Yeah,
this
for
whole
sure.
movie.
And they do a lot of creative things with the way they film,
Yes.
people in the water versus like where is the fin in the water. You see that later, after they declare the beach is safe for 4th of July weekend, and it turns out they are the furthest thing from.
Right.
Um, but one minute you're looking at people like splashing each other and having fun, and then they'll just quick cut to like feet kicking
Mhm.
and legs in the water, and all your mind is thinking is, "Oh my God, someone's going to lose a leg."
Yeah, because
It's
every time it panned, like, underwater, you're like,
yes,
"Is the shark there, or is
yeah,
this just,
something's going to
like,
be there.
fucking with
Right,
me here?"
right, right. Um, and then they did a nice job of not always giving you that satisfaction. Like in that scene, you
Mhm.
spend 10 minutes watching people messing around in the water, and these cuts to underwater, and then cuts to the boats looking out to make sure there's no shark there. Then you see the fin and you're like, "Oh my God," turns out to be fake. But then, the shark is still there. The threat still exists, just not where they're trying to make you think it is. And again, this movie is a masterclass in creating tension and anxiety and stress and suspense by doing very simple things with
Yeah,
sound, with visuals. And I think it cemented Jaws as, some people
perfect
are,
piece.
yeah, some people tout it as the best horror movie of all time. And while I don't know that I'd rank it there personally, I
Yeah, I
see
wouldn't
why
either.
people say that, because it kind of set the stage for how to truly scare people without, a big baddie with a butcher knife or anything like that.
That's what I was gonna ask you, like, do you consider it a horror movie? Because I consider it a thriller. It's not.
I more
Yeah.
consider it a thriller as well. I would not call it a horror because I think it's different enough in the the terror that it does make you feel and experience.
Mhm.
But I can see why people would bucket it into horror. A lot of people do throw thriller and horror and psychological horror, all of them, they lump them into one bucket. So I get
Yeah,
it.
it's like that one and It are 2 that I always kinda think about because especially the newer It ones, like, there's horror elements, but to me, it just feels like an adventure thriller. Like, I don't know, like,
See that
I don't find the clown like, when he's, like, the clown, it's like, "Okay, this is creepy," but then when he turns, it doesn't, like then it lost it for me. It wasn't, like it didn't become scary anymore. I don't know.
That's very interesting because I am terrified of clowns. So it is up there for one of the hardest things for me to
Yeah.
watch.
Okay.
And I do think Pennywise is horrifying. Tim Curry's Pennywise scared me when I was little, and Bill Skarsgård scared the shit out of me, when the reboot came out. Um,
I love
Again,
the
I am
movies,
biased.
but
I
yes.
I did too. I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
too, but I
Mhm.
I hate clowns, so they didn't really have to try very hard. I was going to be
Gotcha.
scared regardless.
I used to have a fear for, like, a very small period of time, but then I think just, like, being bullied by my friends for so long, I, like, just grew out of it. Um, but yeah, Tim Curry's one I wanna see. That's another one I wanted to add to our list to kinda go down because
Yeah, oh
to
yeah.
compare it to, like, the other
It's
one.
worth the watch. It's
Yeah,
definitely worth the watch. Yeah.
and it's one long movie or they split it up?
I want to say it was a mini series, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
okay.
I don't think it was one independent movie.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah. It's been years since I've seen that version, admittedly, because I watched it once and I'm like, nope, no
Yeah.
more for me. Once was
Ye
enough.
Anyway, we're going off on a tangent here.
Yeah.
So, for Jaws, do you think this would if this problem was happening right now on a beach, do you think they would handle it the same way? Would they shut down the
So
beach?
let's just do a quick draw, like a quick minute to win it plot synopsis on
Okay.
on Jaws. So we're in the beautiful town of Amity. It's a beach town. We're geared up for the 4th of July weekend, and there are two young people who are attacked and killed by this shark very early on. There's Chrissy, as you mentioned in the opening scene, and
Right.
then there's a young boy as well. And Brody is the new police commissioner or police chief,
Chief,
and
yeah.
he's like, we got to close the beaches. We can't have people getting eaten by sharks out here. But the mayor is like, yeah, but it's 4th of July weekend though, and that brings in a lot of money for us, so we're not gonna do that. And basically, the movie is centered around this son of a bitch shark who is terrorizing this town for
Mhm.
4th of July weekend. And it's kind of the battle between doing what you need to do to survive and watching, it's Brody, it's Quint, and it's Hooper in the end that really band together and do what needs to be done to keep the people safe
Mhm.
versus, but how am I going to make that money? And,
Yeah.
do I, what is the right course of action? And I don't know. For me, it's kind of a no brainer. Close the freaking beach. You're not going to have people to go to your beach if they're all getting eaten and attacked by sharks. So I don't really understand the logic there.
Not for
Um,
nothing either though, the whole scene where, like, Vaughn goes to, like, the old couple and was like, "Get in the water, show 'em that you're not afraid," whatever.
yeah,
That beach was packed. There was a
yeah,
fuck ton of people there.
yeah,
It's not like there
yeah,
was, like,
yeah,
4 people.
yeah, yeah. And I really do think, I think the camaraderie you see between Brody, Quint, and Hooper and their sheer determination, like, we're going to get this thing and, we've got this, and coming together and sharing stories and really just fighting together to conquer this great white shark. That's one of the more endearing things you get to witness. And then, like, even at the end when Brody and Hooper meet back up as the ship is sinking, and just that sheer joy to see each other and to know that they made it and they accomplished what they set out to do.
Mhm.
I Even though this movie is tragic in a lot of ways, it gives you that, like, they did it, hell
They
yeah
did it,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
feeling. Yeah. But there are some rough scenes, like when Brody is talking to the mayor and he's like, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna close the beaches and you're gonna let me contract this guy to come take care of this thing. And he's like, no, we already killed a shark and we told people that was the shark. So it is what it is. We're moving forward as planned. All for the sake of, you know, the commercial tourist aspect of things and the fact
Yeah.
that it's 4th of July and that's a huge beach goer and tourist type, you know, weekend or time to be at a place like a beach or a boardwalk or something like that. Um, but your question was if, and I don't know how to answer this, if this happened today, would it go down the same way? I don't know.
It's a tough one.
It
It's a
is
tough one.
tough.
There's a documentary that I watched, I think 2 years ago from during Shark Week. Um, but Cape Cod has, like, a huge seal issue. Like, there's, like, a fuck ton of seals. So all the sharks started, like, gravitating, obviously, towards the
Oh,
seals.
sure.
And there was an incident with a 16-year-old who got bit by, I believe it was, like, a juvenile shark. But it caused, like, a whole issue where half of the town was like, "Well, this is our money, like, we gotta get rid of these sharks, like, let's just kill them all," and then this other half that's, like, saying, "No, this is their waters, like, this belongs to them, we don't
Yeah,
own the water." Um, so I think it still would be an issue, I think
I
it
agree.
would
I
go down
agree.
the same exact way even after all this time,
Yeah.
but
No, I think you're spot on there because I can't think of an issue or a topic or anything in recent times where there weren't two very distinct mindsets about how to go about I should say at least two mindsets about how to go about handling things. And at the end of the day, it's a tale as old as time. Cash rules everything around me.
cash is
People
king.
are cash is king. Some people are always going to prioritize that over anything else. And yeah, I don't know that it would go down any different today. I agree with you. I really do.
I mean, we'd have the technology to maybe catch it a little faster.
Yeah, 100%. Sure, sure, sure.
But
Yep.
yeah, was there any other parts that stood out to you? I think I liked the scene where the old man's like calling out to the kids, and then Michael, and then you
Mhm.
think it's Michael who loses his leg, but it's really the guy yelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that little like twist, but
Another misdirect,
hmm
but made possible by creative camera work in
yes,
that scenario.
hmm
I'm trying to think that you know what scene I really didn't like? After the young boy who was, attacked by the shark in the beginning of the movie, when they're at his funeral and his mother goes up to Brody and is like, "I hope you're happy. You knew this was going to happen. How could you?" Meanwhile, poor Brody's been fighting to close the beaches, and
right.
he's up against the mayor who's like, "Hell no, we're not doing that." Um,
He's losing sleep looking at shark
yeah,
encyclopedias over here.
screaming at people, "Get out of the water!" Yeah, like he clearly was invested in what was best for the people in Amity, and I also understand this was a parent grieving. They were going to go to the face of what was going on in the public eye,
Mhm,
but I just it's a tough watch from an audience perspective because you know why things are the way they are,
mhm.
and that's not a standout in a positive way necessarily for me, but it is something that sticks out because that's a rough spot to be in when you are the face of law enforcement or decisions that are being made in your town. Or I mean, we talk about this in work life all the time.
Right.
Sometimes you have to be the face of a change or a policy or something that you have nothing to do with. You might not even agree with it,
Yeah,
but
I hate that,
you're
yeah.
going to be the punching bag for it because you're the face of that change. And
Mhm.
it's never a comfortable position to be in.
No.
Where Brody shines is he handles it with grace. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't start pointing fingers, he doesn't escalate. He comes from a place of understanding that this woman just lost her son, and he has children as well. So I think they did a good job of reinforcing him as a strong leader as far as the town or the movie is concerned, because he was able to handle that with grace and with, compassion and understanding instead of just flying off the handle and getting mad.
Right, and he had a deep fear of the ocean, so for him to do that,
Right,
I mean,
right.
just proves the courageousness of his actions, so, yeah, I loved it. I agree with you on that part, but Vaughn was just, like, horrible the whole time. I mean, he
Terrible.
the whole time they were
Terrible.
trying to warn him, and he's worried about the vandalism on a sign, like
Right, right. Right. And really, we've been talking about this throughout, but the standout moments are all of the tension building scenes where you know something's coming, and you just don't know what or when.
Mhm,
And that makes the whole movie a standout as far as I'm concerned because it is done well so consistently throughout the entirety of the movie. um, it's just a great watch. It never gets old. No matter how many times I see it, no matter what time of the year I'm watching it, it always hits. It's such a solid movie.
yeah, yeah, and John Williams, like you said, it's just
The GOAT.
the GOAT. I mean, yeah. So it's a clear skies. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I mean, it's
100%. 100%.
I don't think you could go anything less than that. Um, if you have an issue with the movie or there is something you don't like, I'd be curious to know what your thought is. But all right, yeah, 4th of July.
It's
I don't know.
you know I feel like I used to get more excited for 4th of July when I was little because it meant I was going to hang out with like my cousins, and there would be sparklers and there would be food I don't get to eat every day. And
hmm
I did shamelessly. I still do love fireworks.
Do you?
From a
Okay.
distance, from a
Yeah,
distance.
yeah.
But yeah, for me there is something beautiful and captivating about watching fireworks going off. And I say from a distance because there's nothing worse than if you've got like a neighbor who goes bananas with explosives and then your car's got ash and soot all over, there's debris in the street. That's annoying more than it's anything else. But I do appreciate a good fireworks show um when I have the opportunity to see one, for sure.
I don't mind the professional shows like the Macy's ones because
Yeah.
they can get a little creative. I don't really like love the like neighbor who just like went buck nutty and found some shit and he's just firing off and then he decides like 3 days later he had more that he wanted to let go of. Like land the plane,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah, yeah. That definitely, that is the one. Or people who start lighting them when it's like noon and the sun is
Yeah,
at the highest point in the sky and you don't see anything. It's like,
right.
why did you spend money on this? You can't even appreciate it right now. But
I do
I
agree.
feel like,
Back in the day, it felt like plans were so much
yes,
different.
yes,
There was
yes,
barbecues. I remember playing wiffle ball and,
yeah.
everybody had a
Frisbee,
cool yeah.
yeah,
Alright, so
yeah,
we had
for
this
sure.
off air, but I think this is worth discussing. So condiments on a hot dog. I said ketchup, and you
I'm
said
team mustard. I am staunchly on team mustard over here.
just despise everything about mustard. Not on
Now,
a
I have to
hamburger.
ask,
Mhm.
is it all mustard you dislike, or is it just like the crappy yellow mustard, which all respect to you if you like it, but I do not love yellow mustard. I love spicy grain mustard, I love honey mustard, I love Dijon mustard, but the yellow I could take or leave. Usually leave.
I've dabbled in a little bit of Dijon mustard. A little dabble, but I wouldn't say it's
The
my
Dijon
go-to.
dabble.
Yeah, exactly. Yellow mustard I cannot stand.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I can understand that. Yellow mustard is definitely not my favorite.
But I was a plain Jane for a long time in my life.
Okay, okay.
My opinion is not the best sometimes with this. Like I only started recently getting into more of the mayos. I mean, I love Chipotle mayo. But yeah,
Oh, you
overall,
fancy yourself an aioli, do you?
yeah, exactly, exactly. And again, it was just like another thing. It was like, why am I just? I'm not just gonna have a ham sandwich. I have to have something on it. But as a barbecue, I love barbecue sauce. I love ketchup.
Okay.
I love Chipotle mayo. I love really any kind of barbecue. Either it's whether it's spicy or it's sweet. Either way.
Mm,
Um, I do. I don't have this often, but I do miss like barbecue chicken. I don't have it as often. Like my uncle used to make like a ton of it as a kid.
gotcha.
So
Yeah, yeah. I
um,
am a huge condiment person. I love sauce. I am more of a hot sauce gal. I will put hot sauce on almost everything.
okay.
And that is my condiment of choice, and I like a big variety of hot sauce. I don't have just one that
Hmm.
I am partial to. I love trying new ones. I like the sweet and spicy, I like the crazy spicy,
Mm,
and I like the ones that are like right in the middle. My thing with heat is it's got to have flavor. It
yeah.
can't just be tongue numbingly hot because that's not enjoyable.
I don't know how anybody finds that enjoyable. Once it gets to a certain point, it's like, what? You don't taste anything.
It tastes like battery acid at a certain point. It's just
Yeah.
not, like you said, it's not an enjoyable experience. It doesn't enhance the food or the flavor. It just sucks.
Mhm.
But I love hot sauce. I do love mustard. I am not a huge ketchup person. I used to
Interesting.
be. When I
Okay.
was younger, I loved ketchup. But
Mhm.
now I smell ketchup and I'm like, oh God, no. It would not be my preferred if I was at a backyard barbecue and there was a bunch of toppings and condiments. That is not the first thing I would reach for.
I don't know. I guess it's a comfort thing for me because there was so many foods I didn't like as a kid, so I just masked it in ketchup, like meatloaf and stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
To me, the perfect thing is, like, sweet and spicy. That's what I
Yeah.
love the most.
Are you
Uh,
a hot honey person?
yes, love hot honey.
Yeah,
If
hot
you
honey
give me
rules.
a pepperoni pizza with hot honey, that's my go-to. Potato or pasta salad?
I have a follow-up question before I can answer.
Okay.
Are we talking mayo based or are we talking like vinaigrette based?
Mm, that's a good
Because
one.
spoiler, I don't really like the mayo based either, potato
Okay.
or pasta. But if I had to pick a mayo based, it
Yeah,
would
let's
be
go.
potato
Okay.
because something about mayo and pasta, and then a lot of people put like black olives in there and I cannot do it. I can't. Um but if it's tossed in a vinaigrette with veggies or something, pasta
Right.
all day.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I would go potato more recently, especially with mayo. But I have come around on the mayo pasta one. So,
I just have
um,
to we have to talk about this.
mhm.
Why did anybody think that leaving either potatoes and eggs or pasta, onions, and olives in mayo in the sun at a barbecue
Is a great
was
idea.
the side dish of choice? The same could be said about coleslaw. I'm not discriminating here.
Oh,
But the
coleslaw
thought
is the
of thing
worst.
again, I like a crunchy, spicy slaw if it's in like tossed with like some vinegar and salt and pepper and a little bit of olive oil. If it's not mayo based, I'm a lot
Mhm.
more tolerant of it.
Okay.
But something about stuff sitting in mayo for an extended period of time doesn't sit right
Doesn't
with me. I don't
doesn't
know. It
do it
kind of
for you.
grosses me out. Yeah. Fresh out of the refrigerator, different
Mm,
story. But
mhm.
you know what I'm talking about when
Yeah,
something's been sitting next to the grill for
it's like 95
5 hours at a
degrees.
barbecue. Yeah.
Mhm.
Ugh. No, not so much. Not so much for me.
What's worse, sunburn or a bug bite? Mosquito bite?
Holy.
I'm gonna
I
go
mean,
sunburn. Strictly off I can tolerate a sunburn where I could just, like, put a cool cloth or, like, an ice cube and kinda cool off a little, but, like, a bug bite, when it's bad and it's itchy, it's a pain. I hate it.
I hate it too. Well, wait, you're saying a sunburn is better than a bug bite or worse?
It's better. I think
I'm
it's
gonna
better.
have to I'm gonna have to agree with you. I am very lucky. I am not super prone to sunburn and I'm a lunatic with sunscreen,
Mhm.
but I am allergic to mosquito bites. And for whatever reason, I am the mosquito magnet out of my entire social circle. If we are all in a location,
Right.
I am the one that attracts the mosquitoes. And I've always been that way. My parents used to tell me I had sweet blood or something.
Mm.
But I agree with you that when you have that itch
It's
that
the
you just
worst.
can't relieve, it really is the worst. And then the added like kick in the face is that because you're scratching them so much, if you're me anyway, you end up ripping them open and then you've
Yeah.
got a cut that itches and then it turns into a scar because you couldn't leave it alone. And I don't know, bug bites have been terrorizing me since a young age. So I definitely think that's the worst of the two.
I get the best of both worlds. So
Yeah.
I am pasty white, so I embrace the paste and turn into a tomato, and the bug bites I get galore. So not fun either way. But this has been a fun ride
Yeah, for
revisiting
sure.
this. So Jaws and Independence Day, those are our two reviews. Hope you enjoyed it. We hope you and your family, friends, whoever have a awesome 4th of July. It's on a Friday, which is fucking awesome. So I
Yes.
will take it.
Enjoy, enjoy, be safe. And thank you all so much for listening. We hope you are having as much fun as we are, kind of reliving some of these classics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. And we'd love to hear, like Brian said, what you have to think. So
Yeah.
please feel free to, jump in, get in on the conversation. We are at Pop and Pos Pod
Mhm.
on Instagram and on YouTube. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and really anywhere you listen to your podcast.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you. I know we have a bunch on our socials, but I just wanted to say thanks again for everybody who's been following or commenting or contributing. It's awesome to see. When we first started this thing, we were thinking like it's probably just going to be me and you listening to our own shit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so it really is awesome to see, and keep the movie suggestions coming. We love to hear it. We love to hear from you. If you have an interesting work career path story that you want to tell us, what your dream was, maybe you lived your dream and want to tell us, we'd love to have you on. For now, this is Steph and Brian, and happy 4th of July, and anything is possible!